everyone has their dark side. Most people don't have a relationship to their dark side. I think anyone's dark side, is making out with being an addict of some kind, of some level.
Welcome to the Ignited Recovery Podcast, a new way forward for anyone looking for answers but feeling left out. If you've been searching for empowerment, triumph, and purpose, you've found them right here. You won't hear the same solutions, and you're not going to have any excuses to fall back on, because Ignited Recovery allows heroes to rise and become their best selves. I'm Dr. Adi Jaffe, and I can't wait to be your guide on this journey. Are you ready to become an ignited hero? All right, everybody, welcome to the interview section of today's podcast. You guys know that we don't do interviews here a lot, so when I bring you somebody, it's somebody special, and we're lucky to have Lauren Zander here today from the Handel Group. How you doing, Lauren?
I am doing good.
Good. So I'd mentioned to you before we started talking that I met people from your team, including your sister, when I was speaking at Revitalize for Mind Body Green years ago, and you guys do a lot at the Handel Group. You've been around for a while. It's been like 15, 16 years, which is always an amazing feat by itself. And you're in New York, so a lot of corporate work and life coaching and education, a lot of different elements to the specific work that you do. Now, obviously, we're going to bring this around to addiction and mental health at some point because of all the stuff that you mentioned around your work on addiction. But I want to start a little bit more broadly. Tell me the story about how the Handel Group got formed.
See, it's a cute little story. So I was already, when I was 28 years old, I went out on my own before life coaching even existed, really, and called myself a life coach. And for about 4 or 5 years on my own, started to build my own business and did very well. To the point where I had to confront, like, what am I going to do? Like, live till I die, and then have done 643 people and made a great living. Well, that sounds boring, right? So very early on, I realized that my vision, which was really pretty epic for a 28-year-old,
right,
was not that epic for the rest of my life. And then I started developing a much bigger, like, if I was going to change the world, what would I do?
Sure.
I'd break into education. I'd go after corporations. I'd go after the individual. I'd go after love. Like I like knew what I wanted to do. I had no idea. It was like an elephant. Like, how am I going to eat an elephant? And then it coincided with that sister you met of mine having a baby and being in California, and me being desperate to, raise my kids and her kid, like raise our kids together.
Okay.
And I had a sister who was out in Florida and one in California. And basically,
you guys made it to all the areas.
I built a company to get my people back.
That's funny. Oh, I love it.
Yeah. And I really did. I truly did. You're like, who do you work with? And I'm like, my favorite people on the planet. How many are there? I'm like, there's about 70 now.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
That's so amazing. So amazing. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, first of all, you're right? For a 28-year-old, oftentimes the dream is like maybe getting a promotion at their first job after college. But what you were doing was starting your own thing. Has entrepreneurship always been in your blood?
Funny enough, it was literally because I worked at a company that paid me so piss poor that the notion of how many clients would I need to cover the same salary, ready everyone? It was 5.
Right.
A week. Yeah. I was like, could I hustle enough to get 5 a week and only have to work 5 hours a week to cover? Like, one, that's embarrassing, how much I worked for nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And so then because it was so little money, and I had a boyfriend and we were like living together. He's now my husband. Right. But the combo made it so doable that it wasn't, I had this, I want to be an entrepreneur. It was like, well, dang, I could do that.
You didn't have to jump off the cliff. It was more like you had taken 3 steps up a ladder and you're like, can I jump back off the 3 steps?
Completely.
You know what I love?
It was a very easy jump.
So what I love about that is a lot of people kind of wait so long that it even though they hate the track that they're on, they just keep waiting and waiting and waiting. And eventually that jump does become from the top of the ladder or the third story, because you have gotten just enough promotions where that calculation might be, oh man, I need 15 clients a week. How long is it going to take me to get 15 clients? Well, that could take some months. How am I going to pay rent for months? The 5 is probably, if you go work your ass off for like a month or 2, you can probably get a handful of clients.
Here was the promise I made. So my favorite joke is I teach people about the real promised land. What's the real promised land? Where they keep promises to themselves. The promised land. No bad joke on Israel, but I do steal Israel for the joke.
I love it.
Ha, ha, ha. So it was, if I had 3 conversations a day with people who could hire me, I kept my promise for the day, which, ready, how embarrassing this is? It got me my 1 sugar dessert at night.
Oh, that's amazing. That's good. So you got to have a sugar dessert every night, and then you got your 5 clients.
I got everything I ever wanted, right? Like I literally had 40 clients within the first quarter. Like within 4 months, I was like, oh my God, it turned out like I was full time.
Yeah.
And then shocked my cute now husband. Like he thought he married like a nonprofit, bleeding heart that he was definitely going to be supporting. Right. And then he discovered he married, like he was in love with a work, like an earner.
Like a hustler.
An earner. Right. Like my wife's he's still in shock. His wife's an earner to this day.
That's funny. So it sounds to me like that work was more kind of one-on-one, more traditional work. Mm-hmm. When did the shift become? When did the method start coming about? All that stuff.
So at around year number 4 or 5, I was a coach. I was doing that. Then I wanted to see if I was this bizarre unicorn who just knew what I knew, or if I could turn it into something I could teach someone else. Like, did I know something that was legitimate that I could teach? And could I turn it into language that I could transfer? Or was I just a unicorn, was really what I was calling myself. And I didn't want to be a unicorn, right? I did not think that was hot. I thought being able to develop something that I could teach, that I could give to someone else, that was real and that could last.
Why do you think that's true? Yeah. I mean, I think for a lot of people, we want to think we're special. We want to think we've got some unique abilities and skills that make us who we are. Mm-hmm. What allowed you?
I wanted to change the world. I was out to change the world. I was out.
Scale.
No, it wasn't even so. It was like if Freud could do it, if there was a way to build something into culture and fabric that could like institutional, right? So that part of my dream was to break into education, right? And it was to be, and I'm very engineering, like I spent 10 years developing the method, honestly, at MIT to that mind, because I wanted to really develop something I didn't need to manage. Yeah. Right. So I think real knowledge is something that everyone should be able to use if they want to, like a tool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And so I think it's way hotter to build to make a wrench that everyone can have from anywhere in the world than it is to be the only person who knows how to use a wrench.
Sure. Love it. Okay. So I know in the prep when we were kind of preparing for this, then I want to take it back to addiction to some extent. Now, again, full transparency, I think that a lot of the people that I work with in the context of addiction, even the conversation we've had up until this moment, this notion that they have something special, this notion that they can be successful, this notion that they should play bigger and shoot for more is a pretty difficult sale, like right from the beginning. Now, partially because the environment that most of the people that I've worked with have grown up in, and that wasn't necessarily always reinforced for them. And even if it was at an earlier point in time, at some point there was a turn And once that turn happens, for a lot of people that I work with who struggle with addiction, the language, internal and external, oftentimes is about how much they're failures and they're never going to amount to anything. And the only thing that they care about is alcohol, drugs, porn, fill in your blank. And it'll always be like that. And if they really, really work hard, they can just muster a regular life and just survive, which I hate and I despise. And I try to, I don't know, not beat it out of them. I try to construct an entirely different reality that they can look forward to. So even the parts that we've talked about up to now are pretty foreign to the vast majority of people that I work with at the outset.
Okay. Well, first of all, I think I'm actually an expert on saving people from being addicts. I definitely think once you're an addict, it's like once you're pickled, you will be a pickle, right? But right? Like, I'm not trying to go, there's a way out of being an addict. I think I
disagree, by the way. We can fight on that in a minute.
Goody. I like branding something, not because, like, I like a good brand because then you know then when you wake up with the same, when you're in the catch-22, which is the voice says, hey, right? Like, hey, it's a bad day. You know what that means. You're going to be miserable. You know what you need, right? A cookie, right? Like, so, so whatever it's doing to you, right? I think everyone on planet Earth has to deal with how they're an addict. Like, I'm not getting anybody, like, you're like, how many more addicts do you think there are that know they're addicts? And I'm like, ha, 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 ha. Like,
so what you're saying, so you're actually using the term really, really broadly.
Anything that you're doing, that you're hiding, or ashamed of, that you do not wish you were doing, and you don't think you are the source of stopping it, is an addiction. So, even if it's sleep, even if it's not calling someone, right?
So I have a question, because this is interesting to me. That's probably not the way most people use addict. And that's okay. That's okay. I mean, look, we get to use the word in whatever way we want. Clinically, it doesn't really mean anything anymore. So when you use it broadly like that, don't you feel like using the term, the moment you say the word, what people associate it with is that homeless guy on the street corner with like a bottle of alcohol in a brown bag?
No, I give him mental illness.
Got it.
I think I have been coaching. I have been sending people to programs my entire career. And I have been a sponsor. Like, you're like, how many people do you think, like, if we were going to go into your language, I have language for all your language. That's right. Like, so when I'm helping a food addict, when I'm helping, like, I have method and process for exactly how I get a person to take over the mainframe, which is their inner dialogue and how they relate to themselves. One of my lines is, I think Handel Method should be the 13th step. Yeah,
I saw that when we were preparing.
I'm like, not bringing other people. That's fine. You could call. Put it in the 10th. Right. Put it right. I make jokes, but I really do think that once a person is sober, that they are pretty much someone who can become the greatest human in the world. I don't like that level of presence.
Why is it then useful to still title them an addict?
Well, you think addict is a bad word.
No. But why use the term? Like, if an addict describes somebody who has a compulsion and that inner voice and everything you mentioned before, once they kick that and it's done,
it's never kicked. I do not think, once you really are an addict, well, first of all, if you go, what do you think all addicts have in common? What do you think the root of all of it is? I'm not going, you're a sex addict, you're a drug addict. I'm like Liars Anonymous, right? The most fundamental thing you're capable of if you're an addict is an ability to lie.
Well, why do they lie?
To keep other people happy and to keep whatever they're doing.
So it's not Liars Anonymous. It's sort of like they're lying for a reason, and that's the reason. And I agree with you, by the way. It's the shame and the negative, either self-concept or whatever you want to talk about.
It's different. I don't think anybody isn't born with it. I think it's in degrees.
I don't either.
Right? Like, so when the concept that children are born clean is the funniest concept I've ever heard. No, children are born liars. The minute they get language, they start lying immediately, with no concept of it. You can't even explain they just lied to your own. So I remember the first time I have 3 kids. The first time my youngest ate a cookie she stole and doesn't know the chocolate stay on face. And I go, Kaya, what have you been up to? Nothing. Right? Like, knew how to say nothing. No, good. I'm like, did you take something out of the kitchen? Even led the witness straight to the opportunity to tell the truth. Did you take something out of the kitchen? No. Kaya, come with me. Bring her to the mirror. Little girl, what does she do the minute she sees cookie all over her face and knows mommy knows? Oh, she goes for the gaslighting. Brilliant. She gets hysterical, crying like she's the guiltiest person in the world. Now that is human talent.
But you're not suggesting that your kid is addicted to cookies.
I have never met a human that didn't have to deal with their sugar addiction. Have you? And sugar is either an alcohol. Like, are you kidding? I don't get sugar.
Hold on. No, I'm sorry. That wasn't the question I was asking. I'm saying your daughter just lied about eating a cookie. Is she a cookie addict?
She would be if I gave her a chance.
Okay.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what do you want? An apple or a cookie if you don't have to worry about the consequence?
I get it. So for you, again, by the way, I'm not at all 12-step centered. So because in AA, you have to meet some threshold for addiction. What you're saying here is it's a very broad word that you use for people who try to do things behind other people's back to hide the way that the relationship they really have with it.
Everyone has their dark side. Most people don't have a relationship to their dark side. I think anyone's dark side, is making out with being an addict of some kind, of some level. Even if my father, who I'm serious, right, never has more than 3 drinks in a night, but you're like 7 days a week. I'm like 7 days a week. 5, like the minute he's done with work. And what else is he like? And he has his scotch in front of his sports.
Sure.
Right. And you're like, which addiction is that?
Got it.
And I'm like, ooh, it's a double header.
I got it. Okay. So for you, the word is just really, really broad, because like when you say you can't turn the pickle back, if the word is really broad, then like everybody's a pickle. There's barely any cucumbers.
No. I dealt with real addicts who are going to like lie, like oh dear God, right? Like the amount,
I have
right? Okay, so they're really and my best friend is a food addict, and I've been with her since we've been together since we were in our 20s, and now I'm in my 50s, and she's in her 40s, right? And she is a food addict. And there is no not heading back. No matter, I know exactly what she's on 109 days. She's on 12 years and 109 days and she used to because something bad happened. Now she can end up in a Dunkin' Donuts because she sold so much art and she couldn't be happier. Like, it has no rhyme or reason when it's coming back. Like her needing a structure and never thinking it's going away is her savior. Right? It's catch-22.
Totally. Different people have different
levels,
things and different things that save them too, right? So it's like each person needs to find, you said the wrench, each person needs to find the set of tools that allow them to build the house that they like living in. Yes. I think a lot of us got handed down, I don't know what it is for your dad, but we all have this for sure. We all got handed down some script. Like somebody said to us as a child, here's the book of how to be happy. They never actually said it like that, but they gave us rules over and over and over and over and over. And the thing is that oftentimes, I don't know about in your family, but in my family, nobody explained anything explicitly. It was just kind of all very insidiously and indirectly handed down. But the problem was my dad wasn't really happy even with his own rule book. And because nobody really handed it down to me and had a conversation, nobody ever said, hey, these are the rules that work for us. You may need some different rules. We don't know. Let's help you figure them out. And so a lot of people grow up with a script in their hand. I live in LA. Everything's a script. People grow up with a script, and when they read from it, they're like, well, I did step 4 in the script and I'm on chapter 5 and I'm really unhappy. What's wrong with me is the question. And a lot of times I tell people, well, maybe you're reading from a wrong script. Like maybe you're not looking at the recipe that works for you. And when I say that to people in the first place, they kind of go like, oh, nobody even explained to me that there could be a different script. Nobody even explained to me that different people could use different tools, right? Like you're incredibly successful and were able to kind of plug into the corporate world through your own business. But there are people who are really uncomfortable in that scenario, like in working in corporate America. And then there are people who thrive within it. But if you grew up with a dad who's like a CEO, a dad who lived by corporate culture, and you were handed down, this is what the world works like, and you plugged yourself in and found yourself unhappy, I think a lot of people never really look inside and question even the principles or the rules by which they grew up.
So here's how I get at the exact same thing you just said.
Yeah.
I make people study their epigenetics.
Well,
okay. And then I make a joke. I call it, everyone has the eppies. A little like the gimmies from the Berenstain Bears, but mine is the eppies, which is lineage and cultural biases that come from your very specific vantage of how you watched your family. And I make people make a list of their parents' positive and negative traits. Now, I'm out of 4 kids. The funniest thing was when the other kids did the traits. We don't even have the same traits. We don't even have which ones are good or bad. Like my sister will have, that's a good one. And I'll be like, that was the worst.
Sure.
Right. And so,
100%.
okay, great. So I make people make a list of all their parents' positive and negative traits, describe them in 2 or 3 sentences, and then explain how you have it the same, some variation of the same, a reaction to it, or the opposite, or explain. And start to pin your tail on your own donkey. And then I ask you to go through your 12 areas of life and really get the traits about your dad's, positive about money, positive about sex, like go through the 12 areas and really deal with seeing that you need language to explain, separate from it, and then pin the tail back on your donkey.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of anything that helps people be the observers of their own behavior and thinking instead of the victims of it. I think too often we get trapped in the idea that, well, because I think it's true, or because I feel it's true. Where in reality, it's always just a reflection and a projection of the standards and things that we've been handed down over and over and over.
I even tell you that you're in charge of your inner dialogue, but you're its bitch right now and you don't even know what it's saying. And that's where the addict even lives, right? Yeah. And I make you come up with nicknames. I name everything. I'm not just naming the addict, right? And I would come up, I don't have people do the word addict. I have them like actually, come up with the character from we have a Larry, we have all different names. Sure. And that's after Larry David, there's all different, get a sense of humor of the voice and what it says. And I even make you track it like an animal. And then after you've tracked it and watched what it does to you, and I make you do a 3-legged race with our coach, which is send what it's saying when you're facing it. And you have to be able to make fun of it because I call all of that your lower self. And your higher self can't even begin to wake up and talk until it hears what it's countering. Right? Like the value of your lower self is not to get rid of it. It's actually it's like, oh, my breath tastes like shit. Go brush your teeth. Yay! Right? So higher self brushes teeth, lower self ends up with bad breath. Right? Yeah. No big deal. So everything has a dark and a light. And I'm not telling you dark or light is right or wrong. Like, obviously, I am a light worker. I'm like on this side of the tracks. And I love making fun of my dark side. Truly. Yeah. And I call it out all the time because it's there all the time. Right? So I am that person about know yourself so that you can author your higher self into everything.
Mm, I love that.
Mm.
So I mean, obviously you've worked with a lot of people. Do you ever
Mhm.
find that people come in and they, they have no problem looking at some of the pieces, but some of the pieces they feel so much shame about. There's so much resistance because, it's been so ingrained in them, the levels to which if they admit to these things being true, if they acknowledge them, if they face them, it means a lifelong of suffering. It means a life of loss and inability.
I really don't believe in a type of morality that would give a shit about any of that. I really think humans should be like, really, you eat cows, people. You won't kill the cow you eat, but you'll eat it just the same, right? You wait, let's call it something. It's a steak, right? Like, wow, human, right? And you're like, ew, you killed the spider. I won't even step. Let's grab. Right.
Right.
So we're just so like, we don't get how funny dark we are yet. We have no relationship to our dark side and we pretend it doesn't exist or it's someone else's fault or someone made us. So I think we are so shallow on how dark we are. And
Mm.
I love humans. I actually love us. I think we don't love ourselves because we won't face the depth of ourselves and our dark side. And we keep pretending it's not ours. Like, so I really am an evangelist of love the self. The self is a pretty dark, funny, hypocritical everything, right? No,
Yeah.
you wouldn't kill that animal. If the only animals you'd get to eat are ones you killed, you'd be a vegan starting now, right?
Or
Like,
at least a vegetarian. You might milk them. But
oh, you're not going near that tit. No, I wouldn't get any milk. I get eggs.
see, I'm from Israel, so I think most of my family has milked cows at some point. And I think it's so true. I think, well, here's the thing. Not only do most people not talk about face, acknowledge their shadows, but as a society, we don't allow it. So you can't talk about sex. You can't talk about darkness. You can't talk about needs or desires or fantasies, dark or light. And I'm not even just talking about sex. I'm talking broadly, unless they fit into a really, really narrow, accepted, sort of agreed upon set of messages. So people
you
come
understand,
to us.
we can title that humans are fundamentally liars, hiding their truth to look good for the rest of everybody, including their best friend. Like people, like we would rather die with the truth than live from it.
But I think that's a societal thing. I don't know that I believe that that's a natural human thing.
So you're like pretending someone else built society, not humans.
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm pretending that different societies have different rules about what's okay
Have you
and what
ever,
is not.
wait. Here, we'll do it this way.
Yeah.
Have you, so being two cute little Jews, right? I'm going with the Jew theme. So and I did not marry a Jewish man. I'm not, though I chopped up religion for my own parts and I love what I use and all
You
that.
have a religion
Okay.
chop shop.
I recommend chopping up for rituals and long live spirituality and anything you want it to be. So with that in mind, one of my favorite things from Judaism is on Yom Kippur, which is the fast day, right? There is the prayer you say when you bang your chest. Have you ever read that prayer in English?
I mean,
okay, here you go. Most Jewish prayers are ridiculous and sorry, everyone, need rewriting. They're like the king and the guy. And I'm like, what? This is not, no one should read this thing in English, right?
yes.
It's stupid, right? I would never sing this song, right? But here's the point. There's the main prayer of saying sorry.
The atonement.
From thousands of years ago, right? Yep. And if you go read that paragraph of what to be sorry about from thousands of years ago, it's the same damn paragraph we need today. Like, yep, I'm sorry about that. I did that. Yeah. Oh yeah, I did that too. Like literally nothing's changed with the real human condition. And they knew what they were sorry about thousands of years ago. And it's the same jerky human today.
Totally. So I love this perspective. And by the way, I hope you don't, I mean, you're from New York. You don't mind the debate. We're all good.
Yeah.
Some people, I feel like some people are sensitive. I don't feel like that's the issue here. So we're going to be all good.
You rock me with that.
Well, no. So what I love is this, the fact that people then wrote a prayer to be able to atone for the lies they've told means to me that our goal for all of us inside, we want to get to a place where we don't have to lie anymore.
Of course.
Okay. So we're saying the same thing. I'm not saying people don't lie. I'm saying at our core, we want to be comfortable enough to be our best self and not have to lie.
It's yin yang, but it isn't, we were born light sorry, everybody. We were born yin yang. We were born both.
100%.
Okay. And, I got a ring. I made a ring a lot back before when I started the company.
Yeah.
It's awful. It's on this finger. And it
Perfect.
says,
that's Lauren's middle finger for those of you who are listening on a podcast. So if you just want to do that in the room, wherever you are, it's the middle finger.
Right. It's the middle finger. And it says one soul. Right? Like no one's getting out. Like we're all going to be recycling till we get to the highest state of what's possible for humans to love each other and care about each other.
You do chop shop religion. I like it.
Okay. And then if you ask me my next joke, it's what do you think is coming first? World peace or the end of lying? And I'm like, ha, 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 world peace.
That's funny. Okay. No, look, I get the yin yang thing. It's hard. I wear it's not on my ring finger, but I wear a fuck shame bracelet. So that's my version of my own reminder to, hey, if I'm lying, there's something I'm holding back. It's not about anybody else. I get to just own my truth whenever I feel like doing it. And that's my reminder to go, hey, just tell the fucking truth. By hiding, you're just creating more of a mess. And again, about the darkness as well as the light. I'm not saying tell the truth only when it's good. I'm saying tell the truth as often as you can. It'll help me short circuit. Because I used to struggle with addiction. So like I was a meth addict when I was up till about 25, 26 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. But the thing that made me get out of it was the moment I actually realized, oh shit, I've been pretending to be okay and to be good for people my whole life. Wow. I got to stop pretending. And so I stopped. And again, it's not like it doesn't catch up to me every once in a while. It does. And then I have to cleanse the lying again. And then I got to kind of go through that cycle, because if I do the better a job I do of staying true to this whole fuck shame motif, the farther and farther I get from any notion that one day again, I will struggle with drugs or alcohol. And I'm not sober, by the way. I drink socially. I don't have a problem with it. I have for 12 years. But it's the diligent work for me, which is what I loved about we need help with lying more than anything else. I said this, I was in a sex addiction meeting, this is like a decade ago. And I said, yeah, I like what you guys are talking about and it's all good, but I need the Liars Anonymous meeting. So where is that? So we use the same line.
Oh, you're kidding. Well, I get to make fun of it because you know where it is, right? It's
Liars
in LA.
The LA meeting. Yeah, LA doesn't do well with that meeting.
I just want you to know that Liars Anonymous is LA.
Trust me. Well, at least I guess I don't know. Whatever. I'm not a program guy, so I don't even know what line I would have to use for that, because I'm not a program guy, and LA is probably the place that pretends almost as much as any other place on the face of the earth. So
it's everyone's lying, and they even have science that backs that a person lies an average of 11 times a day.
No, we don't. Oh, you see, I just did it.
Right? And then in my book, I go through that there's 7 different ways we lie. Right? And I even had to come up with new categories, because if you don't say it this way, they won't think of those files. Right? So omission is we omit information. If I don't tell you something, that doesn't mean you don't think I'm lying or I'm not lying to you. But you never asked, I don't have to tell. That is a policy. That is a lie. right? But do you understand that's not enough for a human? I also need going to the grave with these secrets, like secrets you're taking to the grave. Now, do you understand that's omission? But if I don't say going to the grave with it, you won't think of making out with your first cousin, right? And then you both never discussed it, right?
Yeah.
Or the time you cheat. Like, people are going to the grave with these things and they don't think it's costing them anything. Right? I don't feel shame. I'm never telling anyone. No one knows I'm good. Yeah. And I'm like, really? Because I can tell why your relationship with your wife is exactly that way. And I knew there was a lie about something like that. Right? Like, you think you're interesting. I think I'm still playing tic-tac-toe with humans. Actually, like tic-tac-toe, you're predictable. And I underline pre-dick, the dick part, like predictable, right? And humans are very predictable, especially your dark side. Like, the other good thing about actually being human is you're not that tricky. You don't have 400 ways you lie. You don't come up with 600 new ways once you've killed the last 400. No. You have the same 3 ways you do it still. And the 2 no one ever caught you in, right? Like, we're not that, we're really a creature of habit.
Oh, no doubt.
So once you are willing to nail your habits, you can evolve for real. But if you don't have a sense of humor, you can't call your shit out. You're still managing your shame. Yeah. You are basically, that's a ticket to keep the thing a secret, which is really Liars Anonymous.
I love it. Okay. So the path out of these struggles, the way you're talking about it, is really actually a very similar one to the one that I talk to my people about. And that is, that's this stop believing the shame, stop listening to that voice, start owning. Well,
the first thing I do is if you don't have a dream, like a vision, if you don't have a purpose.
Yep.
Right. So I make people write 12 dreams.
You do that first?
First. I don't even want to, and trust me, your dreams suck. Sorry. Right. Like, I haven't read a dream that I ever wanted to help happen until they wrote it about the 3rd time, because most people's dreams are still fear-based.
Oh, 100%.
I finally find a man who loves me. Really?
It's funny that you say that, because that's why I don't actually have people point out where they're trying to go until I work with them for a few weeks. Because what I tell them is, if I ask you right now where you want to go, you tell me the answer you think I want to hear, because it's what you've been telling everybody their whole life, but that's what makes you miserable. So I'm going to wait a couple of weeks and I'm going to ask you when we're done with like the first one.
I totally, my process is so I don't have to be there.
Got it.
So I could appreciate that there's many different ways to break into the mainframe. Right. And so, but I'm really designing it to leave a person understanding that if you have a dream, then you'll deal with the dark side. Like, you have to have what your vision is.
You have to have a reason, no doubt.
Right. And then you rate your dream. Like, so I ask you to write a dream, rate your current reality against that dream. And I give you a scale, because another thing I teach a person to do is write their own scales. Like, what's a 9, 10 in your life? Not my life, your life. Right.
Yeah. Like, I don't have 10s. I like 10s exist conceptually, but I don't think I've ever given myself a 10 in my life.
Yes. It's sublime. It's when it hits the sublime moment. But we believe 8.5 is sustainable and 9s happen. Yeah. And 10 is like, on your wedding day, your baby was born. Right. Yeah. Save those for like the C part.
Yeah, most of my life is between an 8 and a 9. Sometimes it dips down to like a 7, and then I know I got to work on it. But I used to live in a place that was like 3s and 2s.
That's what I'm managing. A person sees their whole life, not just most people come to coaching because they're not making enough money. They can't work.
They have the one thing that they've identified.
Right?
Yeah.
Like they're like, this is a pain point. And I'm like, yes, I can see that, but we're not starting there. Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
No, I love it. It's so amazing. Yeah. I mean, it's so cool. I mean, with Ignited, I feel like a lot of the things that we do are similar. We get to them in different language and different ways, but it's really cool to understand kind of the behind the scenes thing. My point with Ignited in general is to expose people to as many ways of doing work as possible. Because as you mentioned before, we're all manufacturing toolkits, and I don't know how you feel about the program in 12 steps, but the 12 steps are a tool. There are people who think it's the only tool and it's the only thing that should exist because it fixes everything in the world. And I go, yeah, a hammer is really a great, amazing tool. But if I got to break through a piece of wood, a hammer is useless to me. I need a saw.
And have you ever heard the statistics on AA working? But do you understand that the statistic that I know,
and that's self-report, by the way. So that means it's better than reality.
Okay, so 7% of people stay with AA and it works.
Yeah, the range is 5 to 10. Sometimes you hear as high as 12%. It's not a good range.
And then the same amount of people who stopped drinking who never did a program is the same exact number.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, totally.
So,
and by the way, just in favor, even though I'm not a 12-step supporter, but like in favor of AA, there's no research that tells us that it's the same 7%. So that's nice. It could be like 7% quit on their own, 7 with AA, 7 with Handel, 7 with Ignited. Like gradually we'll get closer and closer. The problem with me and dogma in general, I don't care what it is even, is that when you start telling people that there's only one way to do it, if they don't succeed, they again internalize shame. They again say there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
This works for 100% of people. It didn't work for me. There's something wrong with me.
Though the odds are that they didn't actually follow it. Just so you know, like the odds are
that's
very
true of
good,
any system,
right? Like
that's true. That's true of any system.
So I don't think anyone could, like, you really have to do the 90 meetings in 90 days. And you're like, I really love AA, but most people won't actually do the work.
Yeah. And I mean, sure. It's like, how do I say it? Especially in the context of a program like AA, it also really depends on the meeting you walked into. It really depends on the sponsor you align with. So it's not all about whether you did the thing. It really depends on who is there, because one sponsor will lead you through and work with you in a way that really jives with who you are and work perfectly. Another one will alienate you from day one and destroy your odds of succeeding. And that's tough. That's tough for a program as big as AA.
I agree. I think so. And it's volunteer, right? It's all one big volunteer. So
except for the people at the top who get paid a lot of money.
I took a woman that in the last 2 months, who's been in AA for 2 different women who found me from it. 20 years sober, did the steps, run meetings, right? Yeah.
Miserable.
Just so you know, they never made my version of amends.
Yeah.
Ever. Not even close. And I'm making them make their real amends for the first time ever. 20 years later. And the very, free, it changes your life to tell the truth and retell the story and apologize whether the person accepts it or not or whatnot. Right. And no one made them. Right. And I don't even if you don't actually go back and clean up your lies, you never have an experience of the consequence of them. And then you don't really learn, right? Like, so when you stick your hand in fire, you'll never do that again because you actually really learned. If you keep repeating something, you want to bet you never learn, like it's getting you something and you never learned the lesson. And there's a real reason you never learned the lesson. The odds are you never had the real conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably true. I mean, so Sophie and I, my wife and I, we try to live and help people live in this place that we call radical transparency. It speaks to the omission piece you mentioned, which is honesty is if you ask me the question, I'll tell you the right answer. Radical transparency is you don't even know you're supposed to ask me this question, but I'm going to come to you with information that I think is relevant for you to know, because I know that me telling you will make me better and will make you better and will make our relationship improve. It takes a long time. And it's imperfect like everything else in the world, but it speaks to some of these elements that you mentioned. I
got some good tricks on I have a lot of, so I teach love and relationship. Do you have people that work for you? Have you gone to stop being a unicorn and you're now teaching
so
people how to do it?
I have about 3 or 4 coaches that I've trained. I'm not at the scale that you're at, but we have about 3 or 4 coaches that I train. And and I've automated some of the work because of this amazing online world that we live in right now, where I can actually be the person speaking it, but then lay it all out, and so people can repeat it. It's yeah. I mean, I love. Look, like I said, I connected to your sister a few years ago now, but I love to, and I'd love to maybe learn more and maybe expose some of our participants to some of the work that you guys do, so that if it feels like it resonates with them, they can go your way and get help there.
I vice versa. Game on. I think, because I'm not trying to help. Like, I want to be the 13th step as a joke, right? Like, I want to be that 13th step.
You know, there's another 13th step.
I have no idea. I really don't know AA. You're like, Lauren, how many AA meetings have you been to? What do you really, have you read the book? No, right? Like, what do you know? I send people, and I am a sponsor, and I have my method to causing sobriety in a human, and even like how to manage, like, right before you, like, if you can't handle this program, which it gives you room to keep promises and have 2 drinks, and like, really, if you can't handle this, you do need sobriety. Right. So I'm like the one-stop shop, so you don't have to be sober. Right.
I love it. So, I mean, by the way, I would really, really love to connect and be able to get our audiences to know each other's work. Cause I know, again, I tell my people all the time that my job is actually just to introduce them to as many tools as possible, so they can create their own toolkit.
Yeah. We're preaching to each other's clients. There's nothing that you've said that I don't go, oh, it's fun to hear it in a different language, but it's the same damn thing.
Yeah. So, okay. So let me just, what's coming up? 2020 is a bizarre year. It started out very strangely. But what's happening with the Handel Group right now that our people need to know if they're looking for help? And obviously we'll connect more and have more resources, but what?
Yeah, well, we are, well, first of all, we have about 300 people on Zoom calls a day, right? Like, we're doing free classes. We're doing Wake Up Your Morning at 9 a.m. with Lori Gerber. And then my sister, who you met, who really is a business, like, run, like our business corporate world is doing, is an hour every day. I don't know what hour, but so if you get to our site, there are, like, you can come and hang out.
Love
and we have very inexpensive online programs, which means you get a buddy there. It's all tech savvy. It's so cool. And it's, once you pay your ticket in, you're in for life, right? Yeah. It's really like you're allowed to go on campus forever. And we are, anyway, so I have Inner You Life, Inner You Career, Inner You Love, and Inner You Student, because of all the work I do in high schools and colleges. And they don't appreciate grown-up examples. And
no doubt. That's funny.
And
I love it.
Inner You Love, I do not handle just finding the one. I handle your history set, like the Inner You Career and Inner You Life have similarities in their basics. But Inner You Love is a standalone, nothing to do, like, it's really different.
Okay.
And then they're all different. But the most two, like, if you were ever going to buy two, you'd either buy Inner You Career and Inner You Love, or Inner You Life and Inner You Love. So that's really, and then, or just buy one, or don't buy anything and just come to our classes that are free now during COVID season.
I love it. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's funny. We started on free 2 or 4 week trial for our people too, just to give people some free help during this time. It's so needed. I love it. Thank you so much for the refreshing look at all this stuff. Amazing work you've been doing.
Thank you.
And for those of you who are listening right now, I know Handel Group is also on Instagram. Tag them, tag us. Let us know what the most, like, powerful piece of today was for you, because I feel like the more of this message gets out, the more people will have an aha moment as they listen and go, oh my God, I've never heard anybody talk about my struggles this way. And that's the moment, right? If you can get somebody to connect deeply and go, I've been waiting for somebody to deliver it this way, your whole world can change.
Yeah. Yes. And then I made sure that I had lots of coaches, because not everybody likes New York snarky, funny, cursing Jew girl. Right? Like, oh, I have Midwestern, I have Spanish from Colombia, I got like across the world. Sorry, it's mostly women and a few great men.
All good, all good. There's a few of us doing the work. I totally get it.
It's very good.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to connect more. Keep doing the amazing work. And I have a feeling there's a lot more coming for Handel and Ignited. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ignited Heroes Recovery Podcast. I really hope you found the information here useful and that we'll see you back here next week. And look, I want to make sure that this podcast is the most useful it can be for you. So please let me know by emailing info@ignited.com if there are any specific topics or questions you'd like to have addressed. As usual, if you like this episode, I would love for you to leave us a 5-star review and rating. Thanks, and see you next week.